you have any Kleenex, I would like to wipe my face, and I think, Mr. President, just so that it's so warm in here, we don't want you to look as if I'm putting you through the 3rd degree. Thank you. Would you have some for the President? Thank you. A handkerchief. Good. It will look as if I'm...
July and August in Alexandria and August in Cairo. Only. But the rest of the year is okay.
Did you enjoy Camp David?
Yes.
Yeah?
Marvelously. Marvelously. It is my first experience to spend such a long, time in forest, in a forest. We don't have forests in Egypt.
Right.
Yes, we don't have forest. We have only desert, as you know.
Do you know the first night when you drove out, we had the only reporter standing in front of Camp David. You waved to him. I got a phone call saying, President Sadat has just left. He's leaving the summit. He's going away. He just drove out in his car. Call up, remember? Call up. Find out. Victor called me. Call. I said, it doesn't sound like him. Then we finally got to our reporter. We said, what did he do? He said, he smiled and he waved. I said, no man who was leaving a summit is smiling and waving. But you were the only one who went out to look at the countryside.
Well, I wanted to have a glimpse, really, of the countryside there.
And then we read from your book the next night when you talked about having been in the concentration camp and what it meant to be so closed up.
Right.
And we said we understood why, for you, you would want to get out and see.
It was a house detention for me there in Camp David, really.
Are we ready?
I think so.
Okay, you let me know when you are.
If you're rolling, I'm going to do a little... That's right. You want him to turn the light? Yeah. It's in the mirror.
This is the first time I see a camera lady.
Okay, I'm going to do a little clap here. Okay. And everybody, is everybody rolling? This is just for my own stopwatch here. Excuse me.
Wait, I didn't see you.
No, you don't have to see me, I just need a noise.
Okay.
Everybody close in, yes, on a tight shot of President Barbara. And anytime you're ready, Barbara.
Thank you. Mr. President, how do you feel?
Marvelous. Really, I had a phone call from my vice president in Cairo, and then I had a phone call also from my wife in Paris. Really, everyone is more than happy, really.
The mood in Egypt is very good.
Marvelous, marvelous, really.
Mr. President, have you talked to King Hussein of Jordan? Do you know what his plans are?
Well, Barbara, I have watched you while I was in Camp David, in the house detention that I told you about.
You feel you're in house detention in Camp David?
It was the first time since I was in prison and in concentration camp to be put in house detention there. But it was very useful.
Did you
really
enjoy it there?
Yes, and I think this is a new conception that has been created by President Carter. Whenever there is a difficult problem to be tackled, there should be discretion. There should be, in the first phase, until we reach results, and then after that, everything will be put before the people. But discretion was essential, really. Or, believe me, Barbara, in 2 or 3 days, with contradictory issues from both sides, it could have blown up in 2 or 3 days. This is a fine model whenever there is a grave or difficult problem like our problem. Well, let us return to what you asked me about King Hussein.
Yes,
and one time in Camp David, I saw you coming in the television and saying that you have phoned King Hussein, and he has told you that that I asked to meet him in Morocco, but he was not ready to do this, or something like that.
Yes, sir, that's what he said.
Well, let me tell you the truth about this. King Hussein visited one of my aides in London, and then he asked him to convey to me a message saying that he is ready now. Very well. And he looks forward to meet with me in Morocco. When my aide sent me this message, I contacted King Hussein immediately, and I asked him. He said, yes, I sent you this message. I said, very well, tell me, what will be your program? He said, I shall be staying in London until Friday, and then I shall be proceeding to Spain. I said, very well, whenever you are, I shall contact you after we reach a result in Camp David. So you created a problem for me, Barbara.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't ask him for any meeting or so. He has asked.
Well, I hear he's gone back to Jordan, though, not to Morocco.
He has gone back, yes,
to Jordan.
Direct to Jordan.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to cause any more problems, sir, but is he going to meet you in Morocco?
I don't think,
you don't
because
think?
he has already returned to Jordan.
But you have not talked with him since that first phone call. You don't know how he feels about this agreement.
It was once only.
Well, how do you think he will feel about this agreement?
Well, let us wait, because he is supposed, according to what we have reached in Camp David, to take his responsibilities in the Western Bank. Let me hope that he will come and take his responsibilities for the sake of peace.
Will you be calling him today or tomorrow to
I
brief
shall
him?
be contacting, no, telephone no, but I shall be contacting him immediately after my return to Cairo. I shall send him a full report on what has taken place, and I shall be asking him what is his opinion.
Will you be in touch with the President Assad of Syria?
Not at all. Not at all. We have no contact. After I made my initiative, Barbara, you remember that I visited him 2 days before I visited Jerusalem. And I tried my best, 5 hours, in his home. And I told him, to the extent, let us differ on the tactical side, but on the strategical issue, we are not different at all. He couldn't even understand this. And then he started abusing me. Okay, he abused me in the first disengagement agreement. In the second, and I gave no heed to this. But when he started abusing Egypt, because of the 5 million populations of Cairo that came out hailing me on my return from Jerusalem, I said, that who abuses Egypt, well, I have nothing to do with him.
I see. What about Saudi Arabia? What do you think their feeling will be?
I shall be contacting them. And as much as peace shall be built on justice, like we have already reached, they will agree.
You think they will?
Yes, they will agree.
Do you think that King Hussein is going to come to this country? President Carter seemed to think so.
To the
United States.
He is due to visit President Carter here at the end of this month or early next month.
Mr. President, what if your Arab neighbors disagree with what you've done? What if Syria says, I don't like it, Jordan says no good, Saudi Arabia says we can't live with it?
It has happened before, Barbara. Do you remember the first disengagement agreement and the second disengagement agreement and my initiative? Every time they don't agree. And then after that, I don't include Saudi Arabia in this, really.
Okay.
Saudi Arabia has always been very understanding, and they don't like to declare any positions or so, because they spare themselves to be the big brother, so that whatever can happen, they can bring us together.
You think they will take a position now?
I don't think they will take a position, but they will be very happy for King Hussein to resume his responsibilities there in Western Bank, and me to resume in the Gaza Strip with the Israelis, so that we can build or establish the permanent peace that we are after.
Mr. President, you know that some of your critics may say that Egypt is making a separate peace with Israel when you have vowed never to do so. How do you answer that?
The two documents that we have signed yesterday, the first one, and who has got lots of papers like this, is the comprehensive settlement and opening the whole options for the parties concerned. When I say the parties concerned, it will mean Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon, to come and reach an agreement with Israel on this basis. At the same time also, we have tackled the most important problem, and what we have already said, that it is the core and crux of the whole problem. This is the Palestinian problem. We didn't cover all the aspects, but we have already started a completely new approach which will end.
We just blew all your fuses. We just blew your lights. I'm sorry.
You have to pay for the embassy, Barbara.
Can I help it if your embassies don't? I mean,
from the $1 million job.
I will buy you new lights.
Oh, she can't roll. Her electricity went out. No? We're back.
Okay. What do we do now? Wait in Spain and that he would come right to Morocco? I don't understand why he isn't. I don't know what he's afraid of.
What are we going to get?
Mr. President, you know that there are some critics who may say that Egypt is making a separate peace with Israel when you have said that you would never do so. How do you answer them?
Well, it is exactly this. We have signed yesterday 2 documents. The first one is a document for a comprehensive settlement that opens all the options for the other parties to join. When I say other parties, I mean Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon, and for sure the Palestinians. But in this same document, we have tackled the Palestinian problem, and I'm happy, despite the fact that we didn't cover all the issues in the Palestinian problem, for instance, the Jerusalem issue, or the self-determination after 5 years. We left those 2 issues for the parties concerned, because it should include Jordan and the Palestinians in Jerusalem, in the Western Bank mainly, and in Gaza Strip. It didn't cover them, but it has already opened a real and just approach to the whole problem.
You also said, Mr. President, that you would not sign peace unless the Israelis agreed to give back the occupied lands. Do you feel you have that acknowledgement?
Occupied lands?
Yes.
Well, as you know, in Sinai, as it has been declared, the Israelis will pull back beyond the international boundaries.
But what about the West Bank?
The West Bank, you see, in my proposal that I put before our meetings in Camp David, and I put it just 1 day after I arrived. I arrived Tuesday. Wednesday, I put my proposal. In my proposal, I have put Sinai and the Golan Heights as of one category. Western Bank and the Gaza Strip is another category, because you may remember in my visit to Jerusalem that I have already recognized that Israel has an issue of security, regarding the Western Bank.
Yes.
For that, in my proposal, I put, as I told you, I put Sinai and the Golan Heights in one category, and then the Western Bank and the Gaza Strip in the other category. In the agreement itself and in the framework, it is not agreement, it is a framework.
Yes.
In the framework, you shall find the answer for this question.
Mr. President, Israel has said that she will be allowed to keep a military presence on the West Bank after the 5-year period, and that you have agreed to this.
Well, I think you mentioned this in your report that when I saw you on television.
You are watching too closely.
After you contacted King Hussein. Yes. Well, during the interim period, and this, which will be 5 years, immediately after the signing of the treaty, for 5 years as interim, they shall be having certain points for security. Well, we have stated also in this comprehensive settlement document that I told you about that in 2 years, not more than 2 years to come, Jordan, Egypt, Israel, the representatives of the Palestinians will sit together to decide what will happen after the 5 years.
But you have not agreed now to a military presence, an Israeli military presence after 5 years?
It is not stated at all in the agreement. It is not stated because the Palestinians should have their say in this, and King Hussein also should have his say in this.
Also, the Israelis said that they have only agreed to freeze settlements on the West Bank for the period of negotiation, the 3-month period. What if they should put settlements in the future?
Well, the most important thing that we have really reached in Camp David is a new momentum to the peace process. And this means that everything will be discussed round the table. So all this will be discussed round the table. There are certain commitments I don't want to disclose in this time, and we shall see to it round the table that every issue that we have agreed upon will be fulfilled.
Are there any secret agreements that have been made which must for now still be kept secret?
Not at all.
Everything's open?
Not at all, because I'm not for secret agreements, and President Carter also is of the same opinion.
Mr. President, the PLO were considered the legitimate representatives of the Palestinians. Do you still consider the PLO to be the legitimate representatives?
I have always quoted in my proposal the Palestinian people. It includes all. The Palestinian people, it includes all. But under this, under the agreement or the document that we reached yesterday, we shall be sitting together, Egypt, Jordan, Israel.
What about the PLO?
Egypt, Jordan, Israel, and the representatives of those who are in the Western Bank and the Gaza Strip to decide.
Goodbye, PLO?
I beg your pardon? I beg your pardon?
That's all right. I won't repeat it.
Sometimes my hearing.
I said, does that mean goodbye, PLO?
No. When we are dealing with the Palestinian people, there is a possibility that certain, elements who are responsible enough, but this will be agreed upon by all the parties concerned.
Mr. President, what if the Knesset does not agree to withdraw those settlements, the Israeli Knesset?
Well, you have heard President Carter yesterday stating this. I don't want to comment on it.
Mr. President, I understand that your foreign minister, Mr. Kamel, has resigned. What does this mean to you?
Not at all.
He has resigned.
He has resigned, yes, last Friday. And I have accepted his resignation. We are a democracy. He will not be going to be put in prison or concentration camp because he differed in opinion with me. Everyone is entitled to his own opinion. He is with me. I met him today morning. He will be going with me to Morocco. after that, and I think we can benefit of his services as an ambassador as he was before he was Prime Minister.
Do you think that there will be much opposition in your country, though?
Not at all. Believe me, not at all. I'm in a very awkward position when I started my party a few weeks before I came, because all the Egyptians wanted to join my party, and I told them this is a multi-party system and a democracy. This is the situation.
Mr. President, on the subject of Jerusalem, I understand that just hours before the end of the conference, it almost broke up over Jerusalem. As things stand now in Jerusalem, Israel has sent a letter giving its position, you have sent yours, the United States has theirs. Israel says that it will never give up Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Never. What do you say to that?
Well,
The Camp David agreements go a long way toward resolving Egyptian-Israeli differences, but they leave a lot of other Mideast problems up in the air. I asked President Sadat if he had not negotiated a separate peace with Israel.
Not at all. Not at all. Before I came here, Walter, you must have heard that I have stated that I'm not, this time, I'm not after a partial agreement or a separate agreement or a third disengagement agreement. No, I'm after permanent peace. The Western Bank and the Gaza Strip is something completely different. This is a commitment of honor for Egypt. For that, I insisted that we should have a certain agreement upon the framework in the Western Bank and the Gaza Strip, which means the Palestinian question. And this is what I told you, Walter, the commitment of honor.
But President Sadat also stressed the importance of Jordan to a Middle East settlement and said it's essential that King Hussein be brought into future negotiations. Sadat said he was in communication with Hussein about this while at Camp David.
King Hussein was in London, and he contacted one of my aides in London. And at that time I was in Camp David. And he said, please convey to President Sadat that I am ready.
What did he mean? What did he mean when he said he was ready? Ready for what?
Ready for resuming his responsibilities towards the Western Bank.
So in effect, early last week you had an assurance from King Hussein that he would enter negotiations.
Well, believe me, Walter, I am in a dilemma. I don't know, will he be coming to take his responsibilities in the Western Bank or so, or will he be wavering or so? I don't know. I don't know. But I shall be contacting him, as I told you, whenever I reach Cairo.
Prime Minister Begin agreed to take this matter back to his Knesset and get a settlement.
About the settlements.
About the settlements. Suppose the Knesset does not agree to a prior withdrawal of the settlements. Will that defeat the Sinai Agreement, or where do you stand then?
Walter, I shouldn't like to this to be taken as an ultimatum or so, but I have explained the whole matter to President Carter. This is a fine man, a fine president, really, man of principles, man of patience and perseverance. And without this, we could have never reached anything in Camp David, because 2 days before we reached here in Washington, the whole thing collapsed, 100%.
What was the specific thing that almost caused the collapse on Friday?
Every issue, Walter. Really, believe me, every issue.
There's a report that you threatened to go home Friday night, is that right?
Yes, I really, there came the moment when I collected my papers and my bags, and I was ready to come to Washington here, in this same place, in my embassy here. But Carter really visited me, and we had a quarter of an hour discussions. And whenever I meet with Carter, and whenever we sit together, not more than quarter of an hour to solve any problem, whatever its size.
On that other question, President Sadat did say that if there is no agreement on the settlements in the Sinai, he does not see how he can go ahead with the rest of the Sinai agreement.
Prime Minister Begin says that there's some form of Israeli military force that will stay on the West Bank for maybe 10 years or 15 years or forever. He told me that today.
This will be subject to negotiations round the table, because I'm not entitled to do this. Why? Because the legitimate parties concerned are Jordan and the Palestinians. So we didn't reach an agreement, or I didn't ask for an agreement on this, because it should be decided by King Hussein, the Palestinians who have the claim of sovereignty on their land. It is not a claim for Israel, it is not a claim for King Hussein. And I told Mr. Begin this in front of President Carter.
But you did disagree on that, you and Prime Minister Begin, about the idea of a Palestinian entity, people with Palestinian passports and their own flag on the West Bank. That is not contained in these agreements.
It is not contained because, as I told you, this should be subject to negotiations between the parties concerned. I am taking only the responsibility of the Gaza Strip, not the Western Bank. And let us hope that King Hussein will come and resume his responsibilities there and work on with us all the details of this agreement. But what will happen after the interim, no one can give any idea about it, because this is subject to a meeting which was stated in the framework. It should take place 2 years from now. So no one can, Mr. Begin can say his idea, and we can say our idea also. But all this shall be decided round the table, negotiations, for the parties concerned.
There was a story, sir, that at one point on Camp David, I think it was on the last Thursday, that you were just ready to pack your bags and go home. Is that true?
Not Thursday. It
Not
was
Thursday?
Friday.
Friday. Can you tell me about it?
It was the climax. I collected my papers and my bags and so, and I said, there's no hope in this. But President Carter visited me in the Dogwood cabin there. We had a talk, only a quarter of an hour. President Carter, really, you have a fine president, really. A man of moral and principles, and a man of patience and perseverance. Also, in a quarter of an hour discussion between us, everything was solved, and something very queer happened. We were on Friday. On Saturday, everything went smooth. Sunday, we signed here.
When you went to Jerusalem, sir, you'll recall that your foreign minister resigned.
Right.
Mr. Fahmy. Now you've gone to Camp David, and another foreign minister has resigned. Tell me how you feel about the political pressure on you personally because of what you're trying to do in the Middle East.
Well, it is quite natural. We are a democracy, and everyone is entitled to his own ideas. And when the foreign minister differed with me and submitted his resignation on this fatal day, Friday, the same Friday.
That was a bad day, Mr. President.
Really, it was. Well, I accepted his resignation, and I told him to relax, and he will be acting as he was acting before as ambassador. He was ambassador in West Germany.
Is it true, sir, that the closer you get to a treaty with the Israelis, the more political pressures will be put upon you in the Arab world?
Let me tell you this. It has happened before. In the first disengagement agreement, in the second disengagement agreement, on my initiative to Jerusalem, on my trip here to Camp David. This comes from what is called the rejection camp. The rejection camp has no weight in the Arab world at all. Why? The attitude of those nations, except Algeria, before the October War,